Yo, 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 what's up everyone? Matt here with another Sirui anamorphic review, this time with the 24mm lens. So let's get to it. Alright, so you saw a little bit of the behind the scenes from some of my shoots that I did last week. So Sirui was kind enough to send me over their third anamorphic lens, the 24mm, which I have right here. Now this lens has been a lot of fun and I've been super keen to try it out because I shoot micro four thirds, so having something wider would definitely be handy in my kit. Now, full disclaimer, I am a Sirui ambassador for Australia. However, I'm not getting paid to do these videos. I kindly just said yes, I would do it. I will give you my honest opinion as always, and no pieces of equipment is perfect, and I'll just let you know about the things that I do and don't like. Now, if you're new to this channel, I shoot a lot of kind of fun, short little videos demonstrating the equipment that I'm reviewing, because there's a lot of people out there reviewing who just like look at it, unbox it, tell me about the specs without actually kind of using it and creating it anything in the field. And I don't necessarily think that that is the best way to figure out the things that are good and bad on a piece of equipment, because after all, if you haven't really used it on a job or a short little film, then how can you kind of know what works and what doesn't? So like my other videos, if you haven't seen them, I did the 50mm with some anamorphic portraits. You can see that on a link up there somewhere. Also the 35mm I shot quite extensively with, especially on the Blackmagic, which it's filming on now. And for this one, I also shot with some stuff with the Blackmagic, which you'll see, you saw a bit in the intro with the retro skater and a cool model called Martina. And I shot another film, a short little one with the Olympus using the Atomos Ninja, which I'd never used before. So I kind of wanted to shoot a few little things. I also filmed a surfer, a good friend of mine, just some B-roll footage kind of thing that you'll see in this review. So you'll be able to see the actual working distance of this lens and the final image that you'll see on the computer, or on the screen, sorry, and how it actually translates for a micro four thirds, because some people think, oh, is it wide enough? Well, you'll actually see me using this camera and this lens and seeing how far I am standing from the model and the kind of de-squeezed image that you will get. So if that all sounds brilliant, I think that we should get to it. Now, but first of all, if you do want to see more stuff like this, I highly suggest that you hit that subscribe button. I am only new on YouTube, but I plan on doing a lot more this kind of stuff, reviewing things in real world setting and creating cool content, especially on micro four thirds, because I shoot a lot of Olympus and on the Pocket 4K. So if that's something that tickles your fancy, then hit that subscribe. So as you know, there's been a lot of hype about the Sirui lenses, and mainly because they're making anamorphic so accessible to indie filmmakers such as myself. Now, I don't classify myself as a full-on professional filmmaker by any means. I am a professional photographer and have just been starting to get into video and film and building up my kit. And when these things came along at the price point, I thought, well, this is pretty cool. Like I love movies, I love the anamorphic look. So why not use some of these, because they're so cheap. And look how small they are. I'm used to having micro four thirds lenses, such as this lens here gives me a 1200mm equivalent focal length, because it's a micro four thirds lens. And it means it means that I can have more lenses in my kit and try different creative looks and focal lengths, because I can just carry more and it's lighter. So these things are small and they're very, very accessible and they're fun. Now, if you're a professional filmmaker, you're probably A, not even looking at my channel, and B, thinking, well, are these for me? Well, maybe they're not. until you've tried them and actually shot with them, I don't really think you can make that decision. It's like with anything, you need to try it out first. So let's get to the things that I do like. The build quality. Now, I'm not going to go into too many of the technical features because there is so many reviews already and people are doing really great nitty-gritty technical kind of comparisons and features and tests. I'm not going to do that because that's not who I am. I prefer to just tell you what it's like to use, and you can judge for yourself from the footage. But overall, the build quality I think is brilliant. It's the same as the other ones. Very, very sturdy aluminium. The focus and f-stop rings are super smooth. Pretty tight on the aperture, but that's not too bad because you don't adjust that a great deal. I've put a follow focus gear on here because I was using it on the Ronin. About 180 degree focus throw. So when you'll see on some of the, especially the shoot what I did with the Olympus, it was all handheld. So I actually wasn't using a follow focus gear knob. I was just using my fingers like this. So let's have it. Now this was mounted on a cage when we were doing it. So I shoot like this, and I put the gear on here because I could just do this, and it made it so much easier. And look, with 180 degrees, I can actually get all the way around. So that was handy. Now, a lot of people were talking online about that the lens was a bit too heavy. It is heavier than the other lenses in the lineup, but I actually like the weight. Now I shoot on the pocket, as I said before, so having a little bit of extra weight helps me keep the shot steady. And on the Olympus, which is not very heavy anyway, I don't think it's much of an issue. I found it easy to balance on the Ronin. I found it easy to balance when it's set up on a rig as well. I don't think the weight is that heavy, and people are complaining, so who knows? One of the biggest draw cards though of this was obviously the focal length. Now, having something wider in the lineup was definitely something everyone was really calling for, especially on the Micro Four Thirds, where I found that the 50 was super zoomed, really good for portraits, pretty tricky to use in most situations though. The 35 really hit a nice sweet spot for me between depth and width, but the 24, so the 24 is going to be a 48mm equivalent focal length when paired with a Micro Four Thirds. A little bit different on the pocket, but when you factor in the squeeze of the 1.33 times, you're actually going to get a width of about 36mm. So that's wide, and that's a super usable focal length, and I really found that handy in shooting all of these scenes where I had a bit more space. And I really wanted to get close and then move away and pan around. It gave me a lot more wiggle room in post to be able to frame as well. So that, having that 24mm was really, really handy. The image quality I think is outstanding. It was nice and clean. It's not overly sharp. I shot most of the things that you saw in this little review with a Pro Mist 1/8, I believe. Yeah, 1/8. Just to take a little bit of the digital edge off, especially with the Olympus. Didn't necessarily need it, I guess, on the pocket, but I had it on there anyway. A lot of the shots that I had as well had the IR filter on there, the Pro Mist, and then the B&W Vario ND filter on there because I was running and gunning and I definitely needed to use that. So that would have affected the image quality a little bit, you'll see, but this is what we have to use. Another one of the cool things about this lens, and especially because it's a wider one, we actually get a 0.6 meter minimum focusing distance. Now, that was one of the big gripes about these other two, that you couldn't get close enough to get a usable shot with that adapter. However, this one, it's better, but it's still not brilliant. But you'll see in some of the behind the scenes, you can get still quite close, and especially if you're willing to do a little bit of cropping in post, you'll get close. But I'm super keen to try out one of those diopters. Now, the lens flares, obviously that's why we shoot anamorphic. What I found, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, I didn't actually get a huge amount of flares, and that is because I was using I think because I had so many filters stacked on the front. Now, that could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. I saw some other people reviewing on this and that it was going crazy with flares and there was too many. And then I saw on Brandon's that he was saying, yeah, if you want to control that, put a lens hood. So I effectively had a lens hood on there with so many filters. So you be the judge and you'll see if you like it or not. I like that they only would appear in certain situations, but I would have liked a few more. Even though I was shooting directly in the sun, had different angles, it only popped out every now and then because there was too much metal shading the end of the lens. So overall, I really love the lens, and I think I'll be using all three of them. I'd love to go and film something with all three now. So on to some of the things that I don't like about this lens. There aren't that many, there's just a few little gripes I have. The first being, it's an f2.8, fine with most light, but as you know with Micro Four Thirds, they aren't the best in low light. So having the 1.8 was really handy in that regard. I should try and shoot most things 2.8 anyway, if possible, so I can keep, especially with the gimbal work, so it's easier to keep people in focus. However, in the low light, it would be good to have something a little bit wider, but 2.8 is still pretty good. So again, the minimum focusing distance we talked about, it's all right, it's better, but it still could be a little bit better. But anamorphic lenses, as you can see on the Sirui website, this is pretty good compared to even the most expensive one. So another thing that I did encounter with using this lens, especially on the Ronin RS2, which I don't have set up, I packed it away, silly me, is when it was mounted with the pocket. I'll just demonstrate on the Olympus here. When it was on the gimbal, I would have liked, because we all know that with the pocket that it is a little bit heavy on one side, being the left. So it would be good to be able to mount the follow focus motor on the right hand side. However, because the lens was so skinny, the follow focus motor, when I mounted it using the RS2 plate and rod, actually wouldn't reach the focus gear. So it might just need a bigger focus gear, but I didn't have one, so it had to be mounted on the left. It's still balanced fine, but if you want to mount things on the right, you might have to get a different focus gear. However, being nice and skinny also means, as I said, you can just use your fingers nice and easily to change things, and the follow focus throw is not too bad. Sirui have given us a different filter thread size. So it's a 72, which is still quite standard, but it is different to the, what did we have on here? The 67mm on the other two, which was a little bit annoying. However, I already had a step up ring for it. But if you are quickly interchanging between the two, between all three lenses, you need to take that into consideration, that you will need a step up ring for that. But 72mm is not too bad because it's quite a common filter size. So this lens did have some focus breathing issues. Now, again, I'm no technical expert, but even when I mounted it on the tripod and I was zooming in and out, focusing in and out at different focal lengths, particularly when it was up close, you can see some distortion happening. And it's been addressed a lot of the times on other people's reviews, you can see, but I'll show you a demonstration of it just here. So you can see that as I'm focusing in and out, there is a little bit of distortion happening. Now, I didn't notice this when I was filming out in doing those three little films, see if you can. So in real world practicality for things like what I'm doing, it's not a big issue. I believe that it's because it is such a wide lens and the actual squeeze does change. The closer you get, I think it goes to like a 1.26 or something. Someone worked out on one of the other reviews. That could be a consideration for you as well. Some usability issues, you just need to take into account that it isn't a 24mm width on the Micro Four Thirds, so it's still wide, but it isn't really wide, and so you need to take that into consideration as well. With the flares, some people really love the flares, others don't. People like having lots of them, some people like having minimal. As I mentioned before, with the filters stacked onto the front, I didn't actually get them to flare that much. You can see at the start of my Anarchy film, when I was aiming straight at the windows, that there was lots and lots of flares, wide flares on there. That was partly because the windows were so wide, but also I had the Pro Mist on, so it kind of expanded them a little bit there. I guess that's an artistic taste. Some people liked it. It worked well, I think, for this little film. And you can see in the start of the Martinez Retro Skate one that there was a little bit of a proper flare in the corner of the intro. That was the only time I could really get it to flare in that shoot, which was interesting because I was shooting into the sun a lot, and I was also shooting perpendicular to where the light source was coming from, and it wasn't always flaring. But I didn't mind that as much as some people might. Okay, so again, that's an artistic choice. So if you really want it to flare, you're going to have to use less filters on the front. All right, so that's probably about it for the pros and cons. I wanted to keep this short because otherwise I'm just gonna be rambling on. Overall, I really did love this lens, and I just love filming with these things. They're fun, even if they're not the best in some people's eyes. I love testing things out and just, yeah, having fun with and seeing what we create. And isn't that the idea of filmmaking, to be doing something that you really love? So let's have a look at some of the BTS I filmed with Marine out surfing. So I put that again on the Olympus with the Atomos, and we just did some, I don't know, B-roll kind of stuff. I was going to make a little film, I still might, but it was more for the comparison between showing you where I'm actually standing and what the actual output of the image is de-squeezed. And that is the actual working distance of this lens in real life. So I think there's not many people that kind of show that, and it's very, very difficult for people to understand, well, is it wide enough? Well, you can be the judge. So you will see in the first few scenes, there's a lot of stationary stuff, there's moving. I tried to choose a few clips that would demonstrate different focusing lengths, different distances from the camera, different distances from the end of the lens, and also different types of movements, and you can see for yourself. So let's go. All right, as you can see, with this lens being about almost a 50mm, it's still, to get an entire body of a person in, you still need to be standing quite far away. Now that means that you're going to lose detail on the person's face, or you're really going to get a lot in the width as well. So that's something you need to take into consideration. If you want to get a full body shot, which you would be able to do on a wide angle lens, this may not be the lens for you. But this is all that we've got in the trio of lenses, so you kind of have to make do if you want to use these anamorphic lenses. However, I didn't find it too difficult. As you can see in some of the gimbal shots as well, I was kind of close, and you're only going to be getting, say, from chest line down to the upper thigh, being that close, or maybe just the top of the head to the shoulders if you're operating from maybe, I don't know, 2 meters away. So I want to show you now just a quick little comparison, side-by-side comparison of the different focal lengths when we were out at the beach. The first set of 3, I was cycling through the lenses, and I was about 8 paces away from the lens, and I thought that was quite a good demonstration of being able to fit an entire person into the frame. And then for the next one, I was 2 paces away. So yeah, I don't know, roughly 2 meters away from the end of the lens. And you can see the differences of using the 50, the 35 and the 24 when you're up close. So again, not too technical, but it does give you a bit of an idea on the focal lengths. So that's about it from me now, guys. I hope you did enjoy this quick little review. As I said, there's plenty of technical reviews out there, but I just wanted to give you my thoughts and opinions, honest thoughts and opinions, after filming 3 short films with it. As I said before, I think it's a brilliant lens. I'll be definitely using it again, and especially all 3 of them into a shoot. For the money and the quality that you get, for indie filmmakers, it can't be beaten, really. Please do check out the other films that I shot so you can see the full length of them. They're only short anyway. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And also, if you do want to see more of this kind of stuff again, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I'm only a small account, but I would love to have you along for the journey. And yeah, any questions, let me know, and I think we'll end on that. See you next time. Bye.